Now, this is a very good example for a free response for this year's AP exam because it just deals with a graph, doesn't give you much information. It's not something you could easily do on a calculator or even Google that matter. So I think this is a really good one to look at. They give you the graph of a first derivative, which is very common, and we've seen that a lot before in class. They tell you, give you some facts. They say it's a horizontal tangent lines at 1 and 3. That's just to confirm that these are mins and maxes. It says it's twice differentiable, which means the second derivative exists. And they give you some initial condition of f2 equals 6, and they ask you these three questions. So we'll take them one by one, which is a good way to do it. The first question asks for the x-coordinate of each of the points of inflection for this graph. Well, that's easy, especially since we can give the reason for the answer before we even give the answer, which is what I always suggest. So you don't even have to look at the graph. Here's the reason that I'm going to call anything a point of inflection when given the first derivative. It's the point of inflection only when, so because, the first derivative goes from increasing to decreasing or vice versa. So make sure you don't say negative to positive because that's not true. It's when the first derivative goes from increasing to decreasing or vice versa. So now we have the reason. Now we just look to see where our derivative goes from increasing to decreasing or vice versa. And that's obviously, I have to look at it again, right here at x equals 1 and right here at x equals 3. So that's the answers to my question. X equals 1 and x equals 3. That takes care of part A. Part B says, at what value does f attain its absolute minimum on this interval from -1 to 5 and its absolute maximum on the interval from -1 to 5? Show the analysis that leads to your answers. So you could try to use the candidate test here, but before you try that, let's just analyze. So at -1, this function is decreasing because the derivative is negative. And it doesn't really matter where it starts, it's just decreasing from where it starts. And then here it gets to 0, a critical number, but it doesn't change signs, it stays negative. So the function is still decreasing, still decreasing, still decreasing, still decreasing. As long as it's below as long as the derivative graph is below the x-axis, it's decreasing because that means the derivative is always negative. So looking at this graph, it's decreasing on -1 to 4. Then it's increasing from 4 to 5. So now if you look at it, that definitely means x equals 4 must be an absolute minimum because it was decreasing the whole way until it got to that, and then it went back and went to increasing. Now that leaves 1 or 5 to be the absolute maximum. So if you look at it, compare the two, here's 1, here's 5. This area is the cumulative amount that it decreased because it's the integral. And then it only increased for this amount of area. So because of that, because of those areas, we can also now see that x equals -1 was an absolute maximum. So that was B. For part C, C is very simple because it's the equation of the tangent line. An equation of a tangent line to the graph of g at 2 is very simple. It's y minus g of 2 equals g prime of 2 times x minus 2. It's an equation we've been using the whole year. All you have to do is figure out what g of 2 is. G of 2, that's easy. G of 2 is 2 times f of 2. F of 2 is not given by this graph, so you have to look for it elsewhere. It is. F of 2 equals 6. So that had to be given. It was. So this is 2 times 6, which equals 12. Now we have to figure out what g prime of 2 is. So before we do g prime of 2, we have to figure out what g prime of x is. Since g of x is x times f of x, it's a product, so we have to use the product rule. First times derivative of the second, plus the second times derivative of the first, which is 1. G prime of 2 then is 2 times f prime of 2, plus f of 2. F prime of 2 is on the graph of f prime. F prime of 2 is -1. F of 2 is given to be 6. 6 minus 2 is 4. So these are the two numbers we have to plug in. Y minus 12 equals 4 times x minus 2. Done. That's it.